You're listening to the Smart Agency Masterclass with me, Jason Swank, and we're bringing you this episode courtesy of our friends at Wix Studio. Let's go ahead and get into the show. Hey, Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah, my name is Brandon Harrar. I'm the founder and creative director at a small little agency that I started 14 years ago called Harvest.
That's awesome. And how'd you get started? You accidental agency owner like most of us? Or
Yeah. At a party, couple of young ladies asked for, we're talking about needing a logo and a website for some, fashion or makeup artist company they were starting, and threw my hat in the ring, not having done it before formally, and woke up the next morning and, had to figure it out. And now we're here. So, yeah.
So how much did you charge them?
I think I charged them like $500.
The infamous $500.
Yeah, literally $500. And it turned out okay, if I'm being honest. Like, looking back, like, there have been like some pretty bad projects over the years that like I kind of, wish I never put out the way that I did. But those first two were like actually not bad in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, thinking back, I remember my first couple clients. My first client was Charlie Commander, and I think it was like C21 something. But it was a buddy that graduated a couple years before me in high school and saw the website that I did making fun of one of my friends, and was like, "Want a website?" I was like, $500.
$500.
But that was in 1999. So with inflation, come on, like, I got you beat a little bit.
You got me beat for sure.
Yeah. So it's been quite a while of running the agency. The first couple of years, I presume you were probably doing anything and everything.
Pretty much. Yeah.
What was it like when you started kind of getting, in the pre-show, we were kind of talking about, you've developed some leadership layers for them making a decision. So how did you get there?
Yeah. I think I will say very early on, we were using like a project management system. We started off using Asana. Funny enough, 14 years later, we're still using Asana. So we've got like the entire company's history, like in this
that's funny
system. And we bounced around between different,
and that was like a task management when it came out, right?
Yeah. And it still kind of is. It's like, maybe not the best system for an agency, but we found our way around it, and we make it work really, really well for us. But yeah, I mean, we were like pretty organized from the get-go. That's just kind of my style. Like, everything's has a place on my desk, and everything's, in life. And I guess I wanted to run the company like that from day one. So,
okay. Well, and when did you start realizing that you couldn't do everything and you wanted to hire people in order to kind of bring them on? Like, walk me through that.
Yeah. So I would say, I think it hit me pretty well. There were essentially two phases of it. Number one, I realized very quickly that I am not a good enough designer to take that role on. Right. So immediately it goes from running a freelance business to, oh shit, I got to bring some people in. And I guess now we're an agency, and we're a small shop. So that was kind of the first letting go. That was within year one, essentially.
Okay.
And I think the second one came when I just had like, a couple difficult client calls that I realized, like, that is one thing I don't want to be doing on a day-to-day. Like, I find it really difficult to receive feedback, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Our account managers are great at filtering it and processing it through and delivering it to the team so that it's positive and reinforcing and all of the good things. But I think I found pretty early on that, like, I didn't like to hear changes that I didn't necessarily believe in or felt like they were correct. So it was like, okay, I gotta put a layer there in front of me so that I don't have to, deal with clients on a day-to-day.
One of the, I'm like you. I remember, and I learned this pretty fairly quickly because, I felt like I was a really good designer. And then especially when I hired designers, I was like, man, this is amazing work. Like we're fucking awesome. And I remember going into a meeting with a client, and I went to him, and I set it up. I was like, this is going to be the most amazing work you've ever seen. Right. Like, cause I was really proud of it,
Yeah.
but I shouldn't have never said that,
Right.
because then the client was like, oh my God, like, I don't like this. And this is your most amazing work. So, right.
That's
Like,
yeah.
so I was like, I totally messed it up. And based on what they told us, that's what they needed. But going back to what you were saying, they thought they needed something different,
Yeah.
right? It just wasn't a match. And I just set us up for failure so bad.
That's the quickest way to set yourself up for failure. But
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
look, I mean, that was probably like an unbelievable learning moment, right? To like right off the bat, like this is something we never say, A, and
Yeah.
B, like, okay, how do we put things in place to build on that and to set ourselves up for the next one? And like you got to
Yeah.
do it, you know?
Yeah. And you just got to, I think it also starts to in the initial conversation with the prospect before they become a client. And I would say, here's our process, right? We're going to get you work based on all the data that you give us. And we're going to make recommendations on our expertise and why you're hiring us.
Yeah.
And right, like it's not going to be, and it might not be something that necessarily fits your market. Like, for example, I was in a meeting with a very large beverage company with a red logo in Atlanta.
Nice.
You guys can figure that out.
Yeah.
And the CMO went to me, like the campaign was for a young urban market. The CMO was a fat old white guy and was like, I
Very
don't
cool.
get it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I was like, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
You're not the market. Right.
Yeah.
And we kept
Yeah.
kind of fighting back and forth. But what saved us was in the very beginning, I said, look, we're going to challenge you. You're going to challenge us. And I
Yeah.
set the right expectations versus saying, this is the best work we've ever done.
That's and it's funny. It reminds me of this was actually recently. One of our account managers kicked off an onboarding and a kickoff call with a new client, and one of the first things he said was, I don't know if it was he or she. I don't remember who was on the call on our team, but he said, "Wow, you got a great deal on this project." And only later did they tell me, like, that was a really weird thing to hear on the first call from somebody I'd not met before. Because I'm sitting there going, oh, I didn't know I was getting a great deal. What does that mean? Am I getting less of a end product or less effort or what's going on there? So it's like, again, it's little things that you say or you don't say that set those expectations.
Look, your agency adapts for every client, right? Your builder should do the same. That's why Wix Studio is built for the way you actually create. AI-powered site mapping lets you get straight down to the design. Whether you shape things in Figma or start in Studio, your vision's coming to life quicker with no-code animations and built-in responsiveness. And for client growth that actually scale, you've got extendable business solutions and a dynamic CMS. Scale your agency at wixstudio.com.
Walk me through a time where you were managing people, but you weren't leading them. Like for example, early on, I would manage tasks and I would be like, you have to do it this way.
Right.
Versus going, hey, here's what I want. Go execute this.
So what I've started doing is I would give some context, brief a task or a project, and I'd say, either we don't have documentation on this yet, we don't have the process mapped out, or we do, but it's maybe outdated, it's not super relevant. Do it how you want and document it after. And I think that's been like a really cool way of like not only letting them ride and like letting them do their thing, but giving them then ownership on the standard moving forward. And they're really like people I've noticed all these years, and we've had a lot of people come and go, and people are really smart, but like years of doing things one way, and I don't like to think that it's like a micromanagement style, but years of like showing people how to do it rather than like, yeah, like run with it. There's like some documentation on it, but like feel free to update it if it's not relevant anymore. Like just that,
Mhm.
even if it is perfectly documented and it's exactly how they should be doing it, I feel like people really thrive in that sort of mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I always feel that you just got to give them a direction, point them in the right direction,
Yeah.
and say, look, I'm here if you need me.
Yeah.
But also, too, one of the things that I struggled with for years and years was just jumping back in when I saw them struggle, but they didn't ask for help.
Yeah.
But I would just jump in, and then I'd kind of take away their confidence, right? Like of
Yeah.
going, oh, Jason to save us. I don't know what to do. Jason to save us. And
Yeah.
it was a big struggle for me to not jump in. Like I saw the train wreck coming, like not the
Yeah.
catastrophic one, like,
Yeah.
or let's say a fender bender coming
Yeah.
versus a train wreck. Like a train wreck, I would like, all right, let's get off the tracks.
Like little things that are like it would take 10 seconds to do and just jump in and do, but that 10 seconds, like it's taking their learning moment away. And it's like it's okay if they bump the fender a little bit, like whatever, like the insurance will cover it or the client will be understanding,
Yeah,
or the
just get them a crappy Jeep. That's all. Like
yeah, yeah, the
before you
doors
put
off.
them in the Porsche.
Yeah, yeah. Doors off. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I got my son an older Jeep, and we've been messing with it. Oh, it's so nice to
That's
you just
funny.
park it wherever. Oh, yeah, ding the door. It doesn't have any doors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
So
funny.
we're kind of do that with our son now. What surprised you over the years? Like, what's been a big surprise that kind of had you for a loop for a little bit?
Great question. The first thing that popped into my head was that without having any outbound sales or sales engine in 14 years, we're still going. That has surprised the shit out of me because for many years, it was a big point of stress in that like how are we gonna top last year and how are we constantly it was always like like December Jan would roll around and it would be like fuck, like we have to do that again, like we have to, it's
Yeah,
like felt like we were starting from zero in a sense, right? But
yeah.
the leads, they keep coming, and that's a
So
blessing.
how have you been generating the leads?
I think that it has a lot to do with ensuring that every project ends with the client feeling satisfied. And I say satisfied, I mean, that doesn't sound negative or positive necessarily, but I think that as long as they're like satisfied and happy with the end result and they enjoyed the process of working with us, they're either going to give us more business, or, and it's totally natural that they run out of money or they take it on
Mm-hmm.
internally or they just don't have any other projects that are, fitting for us, they'll tell people, guaranteed. Like, and essentially, if my thinking since day one has been, if I can ensure that at the end of every single project, then I might not be scaling at the speed that I want, but I will be able to sustain that steady growth forever.
Mm-hmm.
And
How how do you make it easy? Because what I found is when you build your business on reputation and referrals, you have to make it very easy for someone to go, oh, you need to chat with Brandon.
yeah,
They do X, Y, and Z versus, oh, you should chat with my marketing agency. And people are like,
right, right, right.
I like it. Do you make it easy or?
Well, I think we make it easy in that like we don't do everything. So like right off the bat, it's pretty specific as to what we do and the
Okay.
things that we don't do. We're not this 360 type where I believe that as a small team, it's really difficult to be really good at all of those things.
Yeah.
Marketing in itself is a beast. building websites, it's a beast. Being really good at brand, there's agencies that are just doing SEO and paid media. So we stick to our lane. It's really design and development. We're more of a creative shop than a performance or a paid marketing type of agency. So that in itself, I think, makes it easy for clients to think of us for those specific things. But I get people all the time that are like, yeah, so-and-so referred me, like said you can help me with my marketing. And I'm like, not really. Not so much,
Wow. Growing every year, are you talking about growing in the top line revenue or also the profit, or because everyone has a different definition of growing?
Yeah. I would say growing top line, and the bottom line should grow with it. But there's that, to me, that's where the ups and downs of in a year play out. And, I think those swings could be something as simple as like, I overhired by one person, and that in itself could just, throw things off one year to the next.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I always, I have some mastermind members come to me and they're like, "Hey, Jason, I didn't grow this year." I was like, "Well, let's dive into the numbers." And they look at the top line only.
Right.
And I'm like, "Well, but your bottom grew by 25%. And you told me you took a 4-week vacation and didn't check anything." So I'm like, what am I missing? Like, which do you want? Do you want the applause from your peers for hitting a certain revenue number that means nothing?
Right.
Or do you want to have more time to do the stuff you want and be more profitable? And they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I get
it." Yeah. And I never actually think about it in that sense of like the time that you're able to take off, the fact that like all of a sudden 1 year to the next, you've just started like kind of taking half-day Fridays, or like taking a longer lunch with your wife, or like, things that I definitely did not have the bandwidth or the time to do in the first, few years. So yeah.
I looked at, when I look back at the roles that I went through, right? And when I was at kind of the operator stage doing everything, I was probably at like 80 hours, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Just 80 hours a week. And that's a lot, right? Because it all depended on me. And then like I started getting the manager, the hours didn't go down because I was a bad manager. I was delegating tasks rather than outcomes. But then when I got to the architect stage, my hours kind of went down because now I was kind of building stuff. And I really liked that stage, honestly. Like I felt for someone that loves to build stuff, and we were talking kind of pre-show, you were like, yeah, I kind of feel like I'm at the architect level, like that was the fun part. But then like when I got to the CEO part, man, I had like 10 to 15 hours worth of work. I was so freaking bored. Right. But like, like those 10 to 15 hours were more important than anything else. Cause now I'm steering the ship through the icebergs and all this kind of stuff. Right. And then when you get to the owner, obviously you got zero, like you're off in la la
land. You're checking out quarterly and checking in, and
yeah. Cause other people are, they're the ones steering the ship and that kind of stuff. And everyone thinks they want to make it to the owner stage, or everyone thinks they want to make it to the CEO. And I was like, dude, just do, you just got to do you, like build you. Like if you look at what Gary Vaynerchuk built or whoever, you don't have to build what they have.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And we've always said, like, we've been intentionally, like, I don't really want to necessarily grow past a 12 to 15 person team. I don't want to run 50 to 100 heads. Like that's too much. Like that's too much pressure for my little brain to handle. You know what I mean?
Well, let's dive into that a little bit. Why would that be too much?
I think that, and again, looking at it from the experience in life that I have, it feels like I don't have the stomach for it in terms of, the inherent risk and the salary dependency that you have at that scale. Now, maybe when you get there or you get closer to it, it's not really any different because you've built the systems to sustain. But I don't know. I I love being able to speak to like everyone on my team on a
Yeah.
weekly basis. Like that in itself is invaluable to me. So I don't know. There's a little bit of that too, for sure.
If you have built a solid agency in the legal, the dental, the medical, or the home services, and you're thinking about the next chapter, you need to know about Herringbone Digital. They're not your typical financial buyer. They're the team that understands the challenges of running and scaling an agency because they've actually done it. And they know how lonely it can be by yourself. Now, I've personally spent a lot of time with them, and they're the real deal. Heck, in the first year, they've acquired 6 agencies, including Hennessy Digital. That should tell you the caliber of partner that they're actually looking for. Now, their model is very simple. They invest in great founders. They protect what's working, and they help you scale faster. Now, while giving you the opportunity to take some chips off that table, they also give you a second bite when they actually sell the bigger agency. So if you're thinking about exiting now or maybe in a few years, or if you want to know what your options could be, make sure you go to herringbonedigital.com/swank to start that conversation. That's herringbonedigital.com/swank. So what I went through, because I remember when I was at 15 people, that was the pivotal point for me. Because that's right when I actually took a job interview, because I was thinking about just closing it down. Like we were a couple million in revenue. I was like, fuck this. I'm
Yeah.
right. And I had the same approach that you did. 50 people, 100 people. Oh my gosh. That means 50 to 100 people are coming to me
Right.
with all their problems. And when I look back, I was a manager then because everyone was coming to me for their problems. I didn't give them the power, or they didn't have the systems, or the things weren't in the right order for me to get to a point. Because like you said, I love having these 15 people, like chatting with them every day. Imagine if they were your leadership team,
right?
And then they had people under them, right? Like I think we think about 100 people coming to us to report to us.
Impossible.
But when I look back, when I had more people, it was actually easier because other people were solving the problems that were coming up, not me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a fun stage.
Yeah. Big time.
So, well, this has been a blast, Brandon, and I can't wait to hang out with you in a couple weeks in Phoenix. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious about your take on the billable agency model versus the value-based agency model. And I feel like this is like, the oldest kind of story in the book here. And I feel like a lot of people would want to get the two perspectives on it. Now that's assuming.
So what's your perspective? You believe in the hourly pricing?
I believe that if the hourly pricing model is done right and agencies have like the visibility on the insights, that it could work really well. Okay. But I also I'm obviously a big believer in the value-based model. Again, if you have the right client base and the right infrastructure to make that a winning model. We've kind of taken a bit of a hybrid approach, but we've just gotten really, really good at making the culture side of logging time work, because that's the biggest, I think, hurdle for almost everybody. I don't want to log time, and what do I do when I got to get up and take a piss, and what do I do when I got to, we all work from home, I got to take my laundry out, what happens? And like, we've kind of like figured that out, and we're left with like years and years of like really strong data that we can leverage to make decisions on how we're going to adjust the model and kind of play with the figures and how I'm going to hire, and from a capacity standpoint.
So here's my take. I think every agency needs to track hours. Like that's a must, or you can't really see how, like, where's all the time going and how do I get more efficient, that kind of stuff. And also too, I'll caveat this. That's why I like doing the podcast and having the mastermind, because there's 1,000 ways to do different things, and you have to fit And you have to just take all those little pieces of silver from everybody and make your own silver bullet. Because if I say I believe in value-based pricing over fixed, hourly pricing, well, that might not work for you. And right, it's not like, because it's all different. Now, here is my take, though. I think, and we were kind of a hybrid at our agency. So on things I had no clue, right? Like on heavy development, I had to hourly price it. I just couldn't, because we would just get eaten alive. But on the things like websites and branding and things that I had years of data about how long it took, here's what would happen. We'd get more efficient, but now we're making less money. That's not fair.
Yep.
I spent 20 years of my life getting efficient.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like that refrigerator the repairman comes in, he fixes my refrigerator in 5 minutes. It gives me $1,000 bill. I'm like, $1,000 bill for 5 minutes. He goes, well, let me break down the invoice.
Yeah.
He goes, here's $100 for the 5 minutes for turning the screw, $900 for knowing which screw to turn because I have the experience.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's my take on it.
That's exactly how we're doing it. It's like you said, it's knowing what to price it at and having fixed price projects on those that need it, and it's billing it on the hour. Like, we're billing on the hour for, like you said, more complex builds or things that we haven't done enough times to have a full grasp on. But then we also sell banks of hours. So for those smaller projects that we're doing within these retainer style models, we're billing hours.
So I like the block of hours, and here's why, and here's how I would sell it, and here's how we would use it, because people would buy a block of hours. So like, for example, if a client came to me for a quick change, it's always a minimum of 1 hour.
Yep.
I have to stop what we're doing on, for the team, brief the team, put it in the project manager, all this kind of stuff. So it was always an hour. So we always try to kind of go, well, if you want a block of hours, we're going to do 50 hours. They expire every year.
Mm-hmm.
They don't roll over. And whenever you come to us, if it takes 5 minutes, it takes 5 minutes. They would always buy the 50 hours. They would never even come close to them. It's kind of almost like selling gift cards. Right? That's a really cool business to be in.
Yeah.
Because, these stores sell all these gift cards. 40% of them are never collected.
It's crazy.
Right. Which is nuts. But it also goes back, when you do charge by the hour, this is where you need to be careful, because it goes back to kind of that concept I talked about, delegating outcomes versus delegating tasks. Right. So when you're pricing hourly, they're delegating tasks to you, and they're looking at you as an order taker versus a solution to a problem. Right? I want to position my agency to be that person that they come to me with a problem, and then I have a solution, and I never want them thinking about hours.
Got it.
That's how I was. But that doesn't have to be everybody.
Yeah. And there's just some clients out there that just won't do it any other way, and that's okay. And you make it work. And I think, again, the hybrid model allows for you to kind of fill in the gaps. And the goal, at the end of the day, I believe the goal is to just be as busy as possible throughout the year, and then go from there. So cool. That's
awesome.
Good. That's good. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah. Well, it was a great question. Great having you on, Brandon. And for everyone listening, if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe. Also, too, we talked about kind of some of the roles that you will go through as an agency, as an entrepreneur. And I've recently developed a book. It's called Operator to Owner. If you go to operator-to-owner-evolution.com, you can check out the book. And it's really kind of the 5 stages, the 5 identities that we all go through, and focuses on the frameworks you need in order to get to that next level. Whichever level you're at, how do we get to the next level? So make sure you go there, check that out. And until next time, have a swank day.